sassy, a little bit crazy, a little bit classy. We got dreams and we got goals. We're just a couple of old sassholes.
Heyo!
Hello!
Look at that. I turned on both mics this
Yay,
time.
I get to play too.
Yeah.
That's good.
Wonderful. Welcome, everyone, to A Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Johnson.
And I'm Heather Terry.
And this is our power hour of true crime with fucked up people doing fucked up shit for fucked up reasons.
I love when you say it because it makes me want to bounce, and you bounce when you say it.
It's so great.
Bouncy.
So we're recording today, even though Heather sounds like shit.
I do, and I'm so sorry. I'm trying.
We were doing our mic check, and I'm like, you sound like shit.
I took one step outside because everyone knows I like to live inside. And I walked out front, and my husband was weed eating right by my car. And I think the grass hit me, and then my body was like, no, go back in.
It could be.
I sound like garbage.
Yep. So
sorry. I apologize.
If you're into that kind of thing, maybe this is one of your favorite episodes. We'll find out. Yeah. So we're doing a follow-up. We're doing part deux of our story, of my story, of Fred and Rose West, the motherfuckers.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm re-pissed. Oh, I'm re-pissed just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, no one can see Heather, but she is.
I'm going through it, okay? And you're just going to have to not look at me.
I'm not going to. I'm just going to stare at the paper as you struggle.
I'm going through it. I'm going to go straight to the drugstore after this and get some Claritin and go home and stop talking on a microphone.
Yeah. I am going to be excited to just be home. I'm not going to lie. It's too fucking hot.
It is hot.
I have my niece today at like 2:30, and so I'm going to be doing bebopping around town acting like it's not 1,000 degrees.
Have fun.
I am pumped. I actually am.
She's fun.
Yeah,
she'll have a good time.
Yes, minus the fact that it's literally too fucking hot.
Right.
We're officially in the January of February of the summer where I just don't give two fucks about it, and I'm just ready for September.
Yeah. You just be like, do you want to go ice skating and then eat popsicles?
All right, let's do this.
Let's do it.
Where I'd left off was kind of the finding of some of the bodies. But then I was like, we're going to pivot and we're going to fast forward. And so we are now talking about them getting married. So Fred and Rose are married on January 29th of 1972. The ceremony took place at just like the Gloucester, I know I'm saying that wrong, register office. And Fred had said that he was a bachelor on the marriage certificate. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he never got divorced from his last wife.
That's what I thought.
So I just lied.
Liar.
And no family and friends were invited, which is not shocking.
I didn't think that he would have any.
Several months later, Rose is pregnant with her second child. The couple moved from their address to this new one, which is Cromwell Street. And that's basically where all the fucked up shit's happening. Ugh. So it's like a 3-story home. It's located close to the city center. Whenever they buy it, many of the upper floor rooms were actually converted into bed sits, is what they call it. But really, it's like extra rooms that they can rent out. To maintain a degree of privacy for his own family, though, he installs a cooker and a wash basin on the first floor landing in order for the lodgers to not need to go to the ground floor where his family's at. So only Fred and his family were permitted in the back garden of the property too. So I'm like, none of that sounds like something I'd want to be a part of, but we'll find out more. On June 1st, Rose gave birth to her second daughter. The date of birth which is kind of cute. So it was on June 1st, and they name her May June.
Aw.
So I thought that was really cute.
Yeah.
Shortly after giving birth to her second child, she begins to work as a prostitute.
Oh.
Or a sex worker, or whatever is the word that people want us to use. So operating from an upstairs room at the Cromwell Street house, she's advertising her services in a local contact magazine. Fred encourages her to seek clients in the West Indian community through these advertisements. And in addition to her sexual job, Rose engaged in casual sex with both male and female lodgers within their household.
So she threw some freebies?
Yeah.
She's like, you have to pay. I wonder how she made that distinction. She's like, I'll throw you a bone.
Just whoever she wanted to actually fuck.
Oh.
I would guess.
Okay.
And individuals Fred encountered via his work too. So also that. She also bragged to several people that no man or woman could completely satisfy her.
Well, she sure does try, though. She lets a lot of people give it a good college try.
Very true.
Yeah.
While she's having sex with women, Rose would gradually increase the level of brutality to which she would subject her partners to. And some of these included like partially suffocating her partner or inserting increasingly large dildos into their body.
Oh, no.
If the women resisted or expressed any pain or fear, this would like totally turn her on. And she would typically ask, "Aren't you woman enough to take it?"
What?
Yeah, everything's about to get real. Just
I don't think I was ready for this
tight.
jelly.
You don't look ready for this.
I don't look good. And I hate that you have to look at me. You literally pulled up. Let's just pause. You pulled up and you said, "Oh, you look cute." I said, "Bitch, shut up. I know."
Well, you're in pajamas, I think.
Yeah. They're clean.
That's
I
wonderful.
took off old pajamas and put new ones on.
That's great.
To come here and go straight back home.
Yeah, I put on jean shorts, so I felt like I was
Someone's fancy.
I know. Someone's trying hard. To many of these women, it became apparent that Rose and her husband, who regularly participated in the threesomes, they took a particular pleasure from taking women beyond their sexual limits. So typically involving bondage. They openly admitted to taking a particular pleasure from any form of sex involving a strong measure of dominance, pain, and violence. And to cater to these fetishes, they basically amassed a huge collection of like bondage and restraining devices. They had a lot of magazines and photographs, and they really expanded on that collection where they had videos with bestiality and graphic abuse of children.
No, I was getting ready to ask you the kids.
So Rose, what?
Like they're there.
Yes, they do live in their house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I wanted to, okay.
They controlled, Rose controlled the West family finances, and Fred was giving her his pay. The room Rose used for, I'm going to say prostitution because it is the word in here. So if someone takes offense to it, stop prostituting. They were known throughout the household as Mandy's room. Mandy being the working name Rose used for her clients. And they had several hidden peepholes so that Fred, who was a longtime voyeur, could watch her while she entertained her clients. He also installed a baby monitor in the room, allowing him to listen from other places in the house.
Oh, God.
The room included a private bar and a red light outside the door that would make sure that the kids knew that Rose should not be disturbed.
Oh.
Yeah. She carried the sole key to this room around her neck, and Fred actually installed a separate doorbell to the house so that her clients could ring that one whenever they visited.
What do you think it sounded like? Was it different?
I don't think so.
It was like when you push the button. What do you think?
I think that's drawing a lot of attention to what they're doing, so I would guess no. At this point, I'm like, this doesn't even sound like it's like this is a movie. This doesn't even sound real.
Yeah.
By 1977, Rose's father, Bill, had come to tolerate her daughter's marriage and to develop a grudging respect for Fred. Together, he and Fred opened a cafe.
No.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
No. That's a horrible no.
Named the Green Lantern, which was soon in debt. So Bill was also known to visit the Cromwell Street house to solicit his daughter's services.
I knew you were going to say that. No.
By 1983, so we're trudging along here, Rose had given birth to 8 children, at least 3 of whom had been conceived by clients.
Oh, God.
Fred willingly accepted these children as his own and falsely informed them that the reason that their skin was darker than that of their siblings was because his great-grandmother was a black woman.
It's in your genes. It's in your genes.
My great-grandmother, she's black. That's why you're Mexican. Motherfucker. When each of the West children reached the age of 7, they were assigned numerous daily chores to perform in the house. They were seldom allowed to socialize outside unless their shit-ass parents were present and had to follow strict guidelines imposed by their shit-ass parents, or they would have severe punishment, almost always physical, being the penalty for not conforming to the household rules. The children feared getting beaten, and Rose was the one who did it the most. She would do it for no reason at all besides just being in a mood. She always took great care not to hit them in their face or their hands so that people couldn't see. First Heather and then her younger brother Stephen, they both ran away from home, but sadly they returned to the residence after several weeks because they were really just kind of tired of sleeping on friends' couches. Between 1972 and 1992, the West children were admitted to the casualty units of local hospitals 31 times. 31 times.
That's 31
for
times
injuries.
Too many.
For injuries, for quote-unquote accidents.
Ugh.
On one occasion, as Stephen was mopping the kitchen floor with a cloth, Rose accidentally stepped into the bowl of water he had been using. In response, she hit him over the head with the bowl and then repeatedly kicked him in the head and the chest, screaming at him, "You did that on purpose, you little swine." What? On another occasion, Rose became furious about missing a kitchen utensil, grabbed a knife she had been using to cut a slab of meat, and repeatedly stabbed May June's chest until her rib cage was covered in like light knife wounds. So it's like she was like not stabbing, but like just cutting. And the whole time May was screaming, "No, Mom, no," as Stephen and Heather stood by, and they were just basically crying the whole time. On one occasion in August of 74, Rose chased after Fred with a carving knife in her hand. Fred was able to slam shut the door of the room that she was like lunging at him. And the knife actually got stuck in the door, and 3 of Rose's fingers slipped down the blade, almost severing them off her hand.
Good.
In response, she calmly wrapped her hand in a towel and said, "Look what you done, fella. You've got to take me to the hospital now."
What the fuck?
Now, I'm about to tell you a lot of fucked up shit.
Oh, now you're going to.
Yes. This is actually really hard to say.
Okay. I'm uncomfortable.
In September of 1972, the Wests led their 8-year-old, Anne Marie, to the cellar at that fucking house. The child was ordered to undress, with Rose tearing her dress from her body whenever she would not take off her clothes. She was then stripped naked, bound to a mattress, and gagged before her father, Fred, raped her with Rose's active encouragement. After the rape, Rose explained to her child, "Everybody does it to every girl. It's a father's job. Don't worry and don't say anything to anyone," making it clear that obviously this would continue. And she threatened the child with severe beatings if they ever received word that she told anyone. Once more, she was 8 years old. She occasionally sexually abused Anne Marie herself and later took extreme gratification in degrading her with acts like binding her to various items of furniture before encouraging Fred to rape her, or forcing her to perform household chores while wearing sexual devices in a miniskirt.
I don't have anything to say to this. This is terrible already.
Yeah. Fred and Rose forced Anne Marie into prostitution when she turned 13, telling her clients that she was 16. Her mother would always stay in the room to make sure that they didn't tell her what her actual age was, like that they didn't tell the clients. On one occasion when Anne Marie was probably 13 or 14, Rose took her to a local pub, making sure that she drank several glasses of barley wine. Several hours later, Fred arrived at the pub to collect Rose and Anne Marie. Once they had left the premises, Anne Marie was bundled into her father's van and beaten by Rose, who asked her, "Do you think you could be my friend?" before she was sexually abused by her father and her stepmother. Mm-hmm. In October of 1972, they hire a 17-year-old, Caroline Owens, as their nanny. They had picked her up one night on a secluded country road as she hitchhiked from one place to the other after she had visited her boyfriend. They find out that Caroline doesn't like her stepdad, and she was looking for a job, so they offer her a part-time job to be the nanny of the 3 children they had in their household, with the promise that they'd drive her home every Tuesday. Several days later, she moved into the 25 Cromwell Street and shared a room with Anne Marie, which she had said, too. She was like, Anne Marie was really, like, subdued and really quiet.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Right.
Rose, who had begun to engage in prostitution, as you know, explained to Caroline that she was a masseuse, and that is why she would see a lot of men coming to visit her.
Oh.
Of course, it didn't take long before she was hit on by this weird sex couple and was like, "I'm going to leave and this is fine. I'm just going to go home." Knowing that Caroline had tended to hitchhike along A40, the Wests actually concocted a plan to abduct her.
No.
Later, Fred would admit that his specific intent for this abduction was the rape, and it was probably to kill her, but that his initial incentive was to determine whether his wife would be willing to at least assist him in the abduction. On December 6th of 72, the couple lured Caroline into their vehicle with an apology for their previous conduct and offered her a ride home. Initially, she does believe that they were sincere with their apologies, and she gets in likely thinking she was wrong and probably misinterpreted the situation.
No.
Rose joined her in the back seat with the explanation that she wanted a girl's chat as Fred drove.
Gross.
Shortly after, Rose began to fondle Caroline as Fred questioned whether she had had sex with her boyfriend that evening. When she begins to protest, Fred stopped the car, referred to Caroline as a bitch, and punched her in the face until she was knocked out. Then Rose bound and gagged her with a scarf and duct tape. Spoiler alert, she is alive.
Oh, good.
So in her
Good.
subsequent statement to the police, she states that at Cromwell Street, she was given a drugged cup of tea to drink before being again gagged and subjected to prolonged sexual assault from the Wests. When Owens screamed, Rose would smother her with a pillow, further restrain her about the neck, and then she went down on her.
What?
Realizing the severity of the situation, she officially stops fighting. The following morning, though, having noted Owen's screams when one of the children had knocked on the door of the room in which she was restrained, Fred threatened that he and his wife would keep her locked in the cellar and allow his black friends to abuse her, and that when they had finished, they would bury her body beneath the paving stones of Gloucester. Fred then claimed that he had killed hundreds of young girls, adding that that Caroline had primarily been brought to the house for Rose's pleasure. He and Rose then calmly asked Owens whether she would consider returning to work as their nanny.
Really?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I know that was weird, but do you care to watch the kids?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Caroline, she ain't stupid.
Yeah.
And she's like, hell yeah, I'll be your nanny. She agrees and starts vacuuming the house. That's the first. This girl, man, badass. She's
Good
like,
for
yeah.
her.
And she just starts
It's like,
vacuuming
whatever
the
you
house.
guys want. That sounds great.
She's like, I would love to be an extended family member. Later that day, she escapes from the laundrette, like the laundry room that she and Rose had entered, and she goes home. Although she was too ashamed to tell anyone what happened, her mother noted all these fucking bruises and bruises and welts on her body. And then Caroline bursts into tears and she tells her mom everything. Her mom immediately reports her daughter's story to the police, and the rest were arrested and charged with assault, indecent assault, and actual bodily harm and rape. The case was tried at the Gloucester Magistrates Court on January 12, 1973. But by this date, Caroline had decided that she couldn't face the ordeal and do a testimony in court. All charges pertaining to the ordeal were dropped.
No.
And the Wests agreed to plead guilty to the reduced charges of indecent assault and causing bodily harm. They were fined €50, and the couple were allowed to walk free.
Stop.
When Carolyn finds out, she tries to kill herself.
Oh.
And now we're going to fast forward hard as fuck.
Poor girl. Poor Caroline, too.
Well, and afterwards, too, she's like, this is my fault. She felt like all the murders that happened were her fault because she didn't go to court.
That poor thing.
Yep.
I can't imagine.
19 years later, on August 6th of 1992, Fred's arrested after being accused of raping his 13-year-old daughter 3 times, and Rose was arrested for child cruelty. This was due to an anonymous tip that was placed about the Wests abusing their kids. I read that someone heard that a kid heard them talking, the kids talking, and heard it and went and told their parents.
Oh.
So maybe it was Heather talking to Anne or whoever, 2 of the kids talking about it whenever they were outside in their backyard.
Yeah.
And a kid heard and told somebody.
Oh, well, I'm glad the other kid told somebody.
Well, the case against them collapsed on June 7th, 93, when their daughter refused to testify in court. All 5 of the West's younger children were removed from their custody from their custody, and they were sent to foster homes. Now, this is whenever they start to realize that Heather had gone, where the fuck is Heather?
Yeah.
Who had not been seen since 1987. And this triggered everything because they're they get the kids and they're like, well, you're missing.
Yeah.
At least one. Because we also lost Charmaine.
Yeah.
But no one's asking about that one yet. So when they go into the house, they found human remains and apparent signs of torture. And Rose, along with Fred, they were both arrested in February of 94. At the residence, young girls had came and went. It said it was a free and easy place, so no one really realized that women were going missing.
Because so many people just kept in and out.
Mm-hmm. The victims included Anne McFall, who was believed to be naive. She lived in the West. Lived with the West in the caravan, became the lover, right?
Yeah.
During one of the periods when his wife was away, and he was also the father of her child when she was pregnant and she had disappeared in 1967. Catherine Rena Costella, the 26-year-old's remains, she was only 26. Remains were found at a field in Kempley, close to where Anne McFall was buried. Charmaine West, when he was released, he buried her body beneath the kitchen window at the couple's home. So just real quick, his girlfriend, I guess, kills his daughter.
Yeah.
And then they just bury her he waits until he gets out of jail and he just buries her under the window at their house.
Yeah.
Like just
Cash.
Yeah.
These people are so fucked. This story's so fucked.
It's so fucked.
God.
Linda Carol Goff, the 19-year-old, vanished in April of 1973 and her parents reported her missing. Her remains were found in a former car inspection pit in a garage that had been converted into a bathroom at that address.
At their house.
Carol Ann Cooper, her body was found in the cellar at 25 Cromwell Street. Detectives concluded that the Wests had picked her up while she was hitchhiking. Lucy Partington, this was a 21-year-old who disappeared 2 days later after leaving her friend's house. Her remains were found underneath the floor of the cellar. Therese Seigenthaler, she was a Swiss-born girl. She was 21. She was a student at the London College. She had left school at the age of 16, but continued her education. She was studying, she was doing shit. At the time of her murder, she worked at a ballet shoe shop at the Swiss Center, and she went missing on Easter 1974 after she had decided that she was going to hitchhike to visit a friend who was a priest.
Oh.
Shirley Hubbard, 15. She was the youngest of the victims to be found at the Cromwell Street address. She was described by Fred West biographer as pretty, spirited, and vulnerable. On November 14th, 74, she left work. She was 15 and left work.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
And was believed to have been traveling home but disappeared. She was reported missing to the police, but they never found her. Her remains were eventually found underneath the floor at Cromwell Street.
All of these people were at their house.
Uh-huh. And they were all abducted pretty much through hitchhiking.
Ugh.
Juanita Mott, she was born in 1957. She went to school in Gloucester, leaving in 1972 to take a number of short jobs in the city. Not short jobs, because that's weird. I don't know what a short job is, but short-term jobs.
Short job.
Just short
You're
jobs.
like, you're 6'8". Nope, too tall. Next.
I need a short job.
This is a short job.
I want something where I don't have to reach for things. Like I want to be.
It's called existing.
I want to just get things in the bottom drawer. Like I want to get underneath the sink. Like short jobs. According to someone, she was rebellious, difficult, and strong-willed, but attractive and outgoing. In April of 1975, she was 18. She left her address. I love the way that some of these things I copy and paste. Her address. She left her house.
She left her address.
She was traveling to Gloucester, but she vanished the day before a friend's wedding. It was not reported to the police, though her family did contact the Missing Persons Bureau and the media. Her remains were also found underneath the cellar floor.
Jesus, I'm looking this house up.
Shirley Ann Robinson, she lodged with Fred and Rosemary West and became Fred West's lover. She said that she saw herself as Rose's replacement and that he had suggested that Rose was going to leave to her.
He suggested that to her?
Yeah, basically.
I promise she's going to leave. I promise you're going to be next in line to the West Kingdom of Terror.
The other thing that's wild, too, is that she was also about 8 months pregnant when she went missing in May of 1978.
What?
Her body and her unborn child were found buried in the garden at the house. Allison Jane Chambers. Miss Chambers worked for a firm of solicitors under a youth training facility, and friends said that she wanted constant attention, kind of like you. She disappeared in August of 1979, shortly before her 17th birthday. They reported her missing, and I think they probably kind of thought maybe she had ran away. I don't know.
Yeah.
Her remains were found in the garden as well.
How big is this garden?
Could you imagine how many bodies I could your backyard? My God, we could have a fucking cemetery. Heather
I
West,
don't, just so you know, I do not. No cemeteries are at my address.
That you know of. Well, you built that house?
Yeah.
Okay, well then, hopefully not. I'm like, there could be a dead body under mine just because I built my house too, but I'm off a farm.
Yeah.
So it used to be woods.
I don't think so, though. It doesn't feel like any spirits are there.
I agree.
And I don't feel like there's spirits at yours either. Spiders.
That's true. That is true. And then sweet little Heather West, she was 16 when she was murdered in 87. She was the first victim whose body was found at the 25 Cromwell Street. And she was supposedly the last person that was killed. So when we've talked about her daughter being killed, all of those murders had preceded.
Oh, so many.
So many. During her trial, Rose, and that's why I was like, where did the murders happen? Like, or when? Like, I was basically just telling you what they were doing in their life.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much I was like, hey, they abused the fuck out of their kids.
Yeah.
And the whole time they were abusing kids and, fucking upstairs, they were raping and killing girls.
Fuck.
During her trial, Rose denied murdering any of the victims and insisted that it was her husband, that he did all of these acts alone.
Oh.
She also claimed to have tried to stop one of them.
So she flipped the script and went against him and was like, no, it was him.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. But apparently they had made an agreement that that's what they were going to do.
That's what they were going to do when they got...
Yeah. Because Rose, I don't think she ever had any police record. All of her shit, but homeboy literally would just hang out in prison or in jail. Yeah. Rose continued to profess ignorance of her husband's activities. It's like, I don't know anything about it.
He did not. I don't... He must have done it when I was at the store. That's it.
Yeah.
Totally.
But the circumstantial evidence that mounted against the couple was considered sufficient enough to prosecute her for 10 murders, those of the young women whose bodies were found at Cromwell Street and of Charmaine West. Fred was charged with 2 further murders before his association with Rose. After his arrest in February of 94, Fred confided to his basically social worker, Janet Lee. I say basically social worker because they call him something really weird, and I just could not... I was like, I can't. I have to Google it. So I was like, I'm going to say basically it was his social worker. Janet Leach, that Rose had murdered Shirley Robinson and had assisted in her dismemberment, personally removing her fetus from her womb after they'd killed her. Why?
No.
I don't know.
Because they're fucked.
Obviously.
These people are
These
so
are the fucked
whacked.
up ones. Wacky tobacco.
Yes.
Golly.
All of the things.
It said that Heather began to tell her friends about the abuse that was happening at home, and Barry, her younger brother, would later describe watching as a 7-year-old his mother kick Heather repeatedly in the head until she was not moving anymore. Jesus. The West told friends and concerned parties that she had left home and she went to Devonshire Holiday Village. On one occasion, they faked a phone call, acting like it was Heather so that her siblings wouldn't think anything was going on.
Oh, God.
Fred would even taunt the children, though. That was the other thing. So
What?
Fred would actually taunt the kids, and if they did something bad, he goes, if you don't behave, you'll end up under the patio like Heather. And that's the other thing is I heard in one of the things that someone heard him say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whew.
There's no justice, though, in this portion because while he was in the HM prison in Birmingham, he fucking killed himself.
Stop.
He hung himself January 1st of 95.
No wonder they had an agreement.
Yeah. Yep. At pretrial proceedings in February of 95, Rose pleaded not guilty.
Oh, okay.
Only all these dead bodies in my basement. Not guilty to 10 murders. The murder of Charmaine having been added to the original 9 after Fred's suicide. And 2 counts of rape and indecent assault of young girls having been dropped with a view for later resubmission. Her counsel conceded that circumstantial evidence indicated Rose's willingness to subject young girls to sadistic, physical, and sexual abuse. Her trial began on October 3rd of 95 with Mr. Justice Mantell and a jury. An important early decision by the judge was to admit testimony related to the sexual assault of 3 women by Fred and Rose, accepting the prosecution's argument that it established a pattern of behavior repeated in the murders.
Yeah.
So... thank goodness, because sometimes
they don't do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't let you.
You're like, are you fucking kidding me? I've been caught raping 3 other people, but don't include that to my rape and murder trial.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with this part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers.
I know. Hey, real quick, I gotta blow my nose.
In his opening statement, prosecutor Brian Levinson, I was making sure I pressed. Heather had to blow her nose, and then I had to pause it, and then I didn't know what was happening. So she threw me off.
I was sorry I threw you. It was either that or me just go for the next 30 minutes. So
Oh, don't worry. We don't have another 30 minutes.
Okay.
In his opening statement, prosecutor Brian Levinson portrayed the Wests as sadistic, sex-obsessed murderers, terming the bodies discovered at Cromwell Street and Midland Road more terrible than words can express. The victims' last moments on earth were as objects of the sexual depravity of this woman and her husband. He pointed out that Fred had been incarcerated when Charmaine was killed, claimed that Fred and Rose had each learned from their mistake in allowing Caroline Owens to live, and said that the gag on victim Therese Seigenthaler, that was pretty, had provided a feminine touch. It was a scarf tied in a fucking bow.
Oh my God.
Levinson promised to demonstrate Rose's controlling and sexually sadistic character, as well as her efforts to deflect suspicion about the disappearance of their victims. So you cannot say you were not involved in Heather's murder when you're the one lying about where Heather's at.
Yeah, exactly.
Prosecution witnesses included Cromwell Street lodgers, victims' relatives, Rose's mother Daisy and her sisters Glenys, and surviving victims including Anne Marie West, Catherine Halliday, who was a former lover of Fred and Rose, Caroline Owens, and a Miss A. Miss A had been sexually assaulted at the age of 14 by Fred and Rose in 1977. And she had described that Rose was the most aggressive perpetrator of the two.
Jesus.
Neighbors described Charmaine's 1971 disappearance while Fred was imprisoned and Rose's casual indifference to Heather's disappearance. Rose's counsel, Dick Ferguson, tried to discredit prostitution witnesses as either having financially exploited their connection to the case or motivated by grudges.
Of course.
Caroline's, though admitting to receiving 20,000 euros for her story, described her extreme survivor's guilt. She said, "I only want to get justice for the girls who didn't make it. I feel like it was my fault."
Yeah. She probably felt terrible. Like,
there's no, I don't know, man. I had like a stalker in Miami, and one of the things was like I was supposed to get the appropriate restraining order. I had to go to court and I couldn't do it. And it was just from someone following me. Yeah. So I could only imagine. Ferguson emphasized that Fred, before meeting Rose, had committed to at least one murder strikingly similar to those at issue in the present trial, and that the prosecution's case was largely circumstantial. He contended that Rose was unaware of the extent of Fred's sadism and urged the jury not to be prejudiced by her promiscuity and domineering manner.
Oh my God.
She's a strong woman.
So she's just a bossy slut. Like, that's what he just said, right?
Oh my God, I wonder how many ex-boyfriends would reference me as a bossy slut.
Right? Oh my God. We just get new name tags.
Right. Bossy slut. Against the advice of her counsel, Rose indeed testified. Her affect, sometimes morose and tearful, sometimes upbeat and humorous. She wept while describing herself as a victim of child sexual abuse who naively married a violent and domineering man, but joked about issues such as her always being pregnant, and laughed while describing one victim's grandfather glasses. Yeah.
They should never have put that whack job up there to talk.
I mean,
at all.
It only helped.
Yeah, but I mean...
She claimed never to have met 6 of the victims buried at Cromwell Street and to recall very little of her assault on Caroline. When shown photographs of the victims buried under the cellar and of a victim, Allison Chambers, Rose's face actually turned bright red as she stuttered and was like, "No, I've never seen her." Oh. And it was so obvious that like she had.
Yeah, so her body reacted. Yeah. She was like, I don't know who that is. Like,
yeah. When questioned as to life at Cromwell Street, Rose claimed she and Fred had lived separate lives, which was inconsistent with the earlier testimony of witnesses who had visited or lodged at their address. In reference to her relationship with her eldest child, Rose admitted her relations with Heather were strained before claiming to the court that her daughter was a lesbian who had physically and psychologically abused her siblings.
So she blamed her.
Yeah. She was like, she was a lesbian and she abused her siblings, which really was just her projecting what the fuck she did.
Exactly. I'm like, first of all, what does the lesbian part have to do? And then she's like, well, she did all that.
Probably saying that she would like sexually abuse her other sisters.
Yeah.
Which is once more still fucking dumb.
Yeah.
Despite these allegations, Rose stated she had loved her daughter and held no knowledge of her murder.
Oh, she has a weird way to show love.
Right.
Fucking cunt.
She doesn't know what love is. They don't have love.
Yeah.
People like that don't have love.
No.
If you just get rid of your kids because you're tired of them or like they're annoying you, like that doesn't count. I don't think. That's just my opinion, guys. That's just my opinion. That doesn't count. Further questioned as to the contradictory explanations she and Fred had given as to Heather's disappearance, Rose claimed these discrepancies had stemmed from telephone conversations she had had with Heather after she had left home.
Oh.
So she's like, well, I talked to her. And they're like, but you killed her and she was dead. So what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, Heather told me that's where she was at. No, you had killed her. She was underneath the...
You're getting so mad.
These motherfucking cunts, man.
Yeah.
The defense next called a succession of women who claimed to have been attacked or assaulted by a lone male whose physical description matched that of Fred between 1966 and 1975. These 7 women each testified they had recognized their attacker as Fred when his photograph came into the news in 94. The intention of this testimony was to illustrate to the jury that Fred was capable of abducting, assaulting, or attempting to attack women without Rose, which the prosecution had never disputed. The physical recollections of several of these women did kind of vary greatly. So like maybe it was Fred, maybe it wasn't in like 1 or 2 of the cases. Yeah. But I feel really confident that if you saw the person, like it was
It'll
indeed
be burned
that person
into your brain. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe he did it differently. Like the situation was different.
Yeah.
The final witness at Rose's trial was Fred's appointed social worker. It was Janet Leach. Apparently, she was called to testify November 7th in rebuttal to the tape recordings of Fred's confession, which had been played in the court on November 3rd, in which he had stressed that Rose had known nothing at all. He went on so before he killed himself, he said Rose was not involved.
And then she's like, bullshit.
And that, yes. Well,
good. Right? You said rebuttal, so she would go,
yeah. Just let me get there.
Okay. Sorry. I was just making
So she testifies, though, that they had kind of become like for Fred, she was like a confidant. And so he did confide in her that on the evening prior to his 25th, the February 25th arrest, he and Rose had formed a pact whereby he would take full responsibility of all the murders, many of which had privately described to her as being some of Rose's mistakes. Fred had further divulged that Rose had indeed murdered Charmaine while he was incarcerated, and she had also murdered Robinson. He had also confided that Rose had participated in the mutilation and dismemberment of Robinson, having personally removed her child from her womb after her death. In reference to the remaining 8 murders for which Rose was charged, Leach testified that Fred had confided Rose had played a major part in these murders. Now, whenever they do the cross-examination, Leach did concede to Ferguson that she had earlier lied under oath.
Oh, no.
Because she did sell her story and she got 100,000 euros for it. But she was adamant. Like, basically, she lied in the fact that she got paid to tell the story.
Ask.
That's what it... She just basically...
She knew it looked bad.
Yeah.
So, of course, she's going to... I mean, I get the logic behind her
I totally
decision.
do, too. While delivering her testimony, she collapsed at the trial. Jesus. And they had actually, postponed for 6 days. She did return to complete her cross-examination on November 13th. But she was saying, my testimony was sincere and it was all true.
She's like, I lied about a check.
Yes. And if you had that story, you'd fucking sell it too, bitch. Because now I have 3 Louis Vuittons. I don't know what I'm saying.
She got paid and did a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue.
After 7 weeks of evidence, the judge instructed the jury, emphasizing that circumstantial evidence can be sufficient for a finding of guilt, and that if 2 people take part in a murder, the law considers them equally guilty, regardless of which of them did the deed. On October, October had nothing to do with it. On the 21st and the 22nd of November.
October had nothing to do with it. Leave October out of this. I'm sick of you trying to blame every fucking thing on October.
Fucking October.
It's our favorite month.
I know. Because I was birthed.
Yeah.
And because of ghosts. November 95, the jury returned unanimous guilty verdicts for all 10 murders.
Good.
Terming her crimes appalling and depraved. Rose was sentenced to life imprisonment, emphasizing that she could never be paroled. Paroled. This was the second instance of a life sentence, which they call are you ready?
What? You're so excited.
Because it's so, I don't know. It's just, they're so fancy-pantsy. The UK is so much better than us in everything. And their Burberry coats and all of what they are, they're better than
You're
us.
not wrong.
They literally
Their words
are better.
are cooler.
They talk better.
The
They
subway's
look
called
better.
the Tube.
When I was in London, everyone looked like a fucking model.
Yeah.
Everyone. They dress, their style.
And then
God, they're hot.
the way their accents are hot, and then they sound more intelligent than us.
Always.
Especially me.
Yeah,
With my,
for sure.
With my accent.
They call it a whole life tariff.
Ooh.
I know, right? I'm already turned on by it.
Even church that up.
Yeah. It's a tariff on your whole life.
Yeah, your whole life.
Tariff.
Not half of it,
all of it.
the whole fucking thing.
Right? Anyway, sorry, we digress so hard.
Yeah.
Our lady boners for the UK. This was the second instance, is what I was saying, that a whole life sentence was imposed on a woman in the UK in modern times. And the first one being the serial killer Myra Hindley in 1990.
Ooh, I don't know her.
I don't either. And I was like, I need to know her.
Writes down Myra Hindley.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost immediately after being found guilty, Rose lodged an appeal against her 10 murder convictions with the Court of Appeal, claiming that her husband, who had confessed to police during questioning that he had murdered up to 30 people, had committed the murder single-handedly, restating her claims that she had also been victimized by Fred and that she tried to prevent one of the sexual assaults. My goodness, I fucking hate her.
She tried to, please stop. He did
it. Why aren't you guys listening?
She's like, listen, I told you that I didn't do it. I didn't know.
He did it.
He did it.
Fuck her.
Yeah.
On March 18th of 96, however, the Court of Appeal refused to consider her application for an appeal to be heard. In September of 2001, Rose announced her intention not to lodge any further appeals against her convictions, although she is maintaining her innocence.
She's like, I'm going to stop trying, but you guys, I really didn't do this, but I'm just going to give up.
She also went to she was in the same prison as Myra Hindley.
Oh.
And then someone was saying that they were like friends, like they were starting rumors that they were friends or some shit. And Myra Hindley's like, no.
So I don't know that bitch.
It's like, she's here, but I do not talk to her.
Yeah, it's just like if you go to the same school, you don't have to be friends with every fucking body.
Right. Lord knows that's the truth. This bitch is currently 7 years old and she's still in prison in Northam, United States. Or not United States, United Kingdom. I'm ending this story strong by changing the entire country.
And she's not over here. She's over there with her BFF.
Yep.
I guess.
That is the fucked up, terrible story. And I know that this was a 2-parter, but like it really could have been 16 parts because we didn't even get to. There's kids that we didn't even talk about. Like they had children that I'd never even referenced their names because it seemed like only certain ones were the ones that were getting the freaking hammer from them. But
yeah, did you ever figure out who McNeil was?
No, still don't know who that is.
Well.
Who the fuck is McNeil?
Who the fuck is McNeil?
But she got away, I guess.
God, fuck this. Fuck all of this. These two can fuck all the way off.
All the way off. I don't know what they're on, but they can fuck all the way off.
All the way. And then he hung himself.
I think they just leaned into, I'm going to say that they were both abused. Yes, for sure. Obviously.
Which sad.
Yes, that is sad.
But there are lots of people
But they leaned into it.
Go through abuse.
100% they leaned into it.
Yeah. Lots of people go through abuse and they get through their trauma and they're survivors. They don't do this fucking crazy bullshit.
It's also bizarre that they found each other. That's always kind of like...
Yeah.
They found each other and they were both doing fucked up shit before it.
And then
though Rose wasn't killing anyone, she was molesting her 9-year-old brother.
Yeah, there's lots of stories like that, though, where we see, crazy, and then they meet crazy, and then they just go fucking banana pants.
Yeah. BANANAS.
What? Yes.
This shit is bananas.
Yes.
It's sad. I really want to read their daughter's book, but I don't know.
I was thinking about that.
I don't know if I can. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those where you're like, I don't know.
This bummed me out, so I can only imagine hearing it from someone who lived it.
Yeah. It's really upsetting.
Oh, God. Well, fuck them.
And it's amazing. I don't know. I don't even know, man. I just don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
In a whole life, Tara?
Just they keep having babies to rape them when they get of age. And it's so normal to them. And it's just so bizarre.
It's all very disturbing.
And I don't know who wants to get that much sex, man. Who's trying to get that much dick? Let's ask the most important question here is who's trying to get fucking poked that much?
And she is trying to get...
I ain't trying to get poked that much. Just getting fucking plowed.
I love that she had all right, I'm going to fuck you, but you're going to be $20.
Yeah.
But him, no, this one's on the house. 'Cause I want that one. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Well, I don't know if it was the people who were living there.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was like relationships were formed. People were flirting with each other. It was very that. The other people who were charged were the people fucking knocking on the back door, you know,
Just like
in both
scratching like
ways.
a cat.
Yeah. Exactly.
That one got me.
I could tell. And yes, a cat scratching at a door.
Dirty bird.
Oh, dude, I've been reading some fucked up shit about fucked up people doing fucked up things.
Look at that. That's called a callback. Such a professional.
I didn't even know it had a name.
Yeah, it's a callback.
Man, fucking crazy people.
Yeah. You know what else would be crazy?
What?
People. If you guys rate, review, subscribe
Yeah.
to our shit.
Yeah,
Please.
do that.
Please. It helps us.
It helps us a lot.
It really does.
We'd love it.
love you.
Don't forget, don't get mad.
Get sassy.
Okay, we love you.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Theodore, can I pet that dog?